So this week's intro is a little bit different. Normally, I just blabber on and on about whatever rant I have in my mind that day. But today, especially because Fred is the guest on the episode ahead, I'm really lucky to have my friend Sam Swartz with me. Um, Hi, Sam. Sam is gonna make me ugly cry, but that's fine because he's used to it by now. But all right, Sam, you are working on. You launched it yesterday, the Tour to Save Democracy. Let's start with who you are, a little bit of your backstory, and what this tour is all about, and why everyone needs to spread this far and wide.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, hello everyone. It's an honor to be on the podcast. I'm a huge fan, and I'll just give you a bit of a background about who I am, and then I'll talk about the tour. So my name is Sam Swartz. I got into this world of politics when I was 14, when my cousin Alex Schachter was killed in the Parkland shooting. That was in 2018, and we were both 14 years old. He was 6 months older than me. He was one of 17 victims of that shooting. And as you know, it sparked the March for Our Lives movement. And we really, I think it was a tentpole event in this country relating to mass shootings and gun violence prevention and youth activism. It really sparked something that was lying in all of us, which was that we need to take significant action on gun safety. And that shooting, I'm happy to say, really did inspire some great things to come, some great laws to pass. But we had to pay the price of losing our family members for it, and that is not acceptable under any circumstances. And I think a lot of the reason why we do these marches and rallying is so that the families can feel like their loved ones didn't just die in vain, like something good can come of it. And that's the reason why I wanted to get involved with politics. And it wasn't even really, it's not political for the families, but it just happens to be that the way to solve it is through politics. So that's how I got involved in this. I decided to take action after the shooting, and I've done a lot of speaking and rallying and organizing and lobbying Congress and talking to members of Congress. And really, the takeaway, and I'm going to just summarize 6 years here in a sentence. The takeaway is that we don't have enough Democrats in Congress to pass gun safety legislation. No matter how you cut it, even with a majority in the Senate, it's not really a majority because we have people like Sinema and Manchin who are, refusing to take action on guns. So that's the reality. We don't have enough Democrats to take action on guns, and that goes for codifying the right to have an abortion and taking action on climate, protecting the Affordable Care Act. I mean, we just don't have enough to actually get these very, very important things, not only to young people but for everyone in the country. We don't have enough Democrats to actually get that done. So I want to talk about a little bit about the sit-in, which was something I did last summer. Is after the Nashville shooting, and I really felt like we needed to do something different than lobbying. So what I did was I just posted on Twitter one day, I'm going to sit outside the Capitol building and I'm not going to leave until we get some kind of movement legislatively. And we had like 31 members of Congress come out. There were thousands of people there calling Congress to take action, coming in person to sit with us. It was honestly incredible. And I asked each one of the members of Congress, and some of them are senators and some of them are representatives. I said, why aren't we getting anything done? All of them said, we don't have enough Dems. We just don't have enough Democrats. So very quickly after that was the creation of the Tour to Save Democracy, where I said, okay, well, the sit-in was a great learning experience. Now let's go get more Democrats elected to Congress so that we don't have to do another sit-in and that we don't have to come back to Congress and lobby. We can just have Democrats be in Congress and have a majority that's big enough to actually pass these laws so that families don't have to come to DC and essentially act as the whip and whip up votes. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that's what we're doing. This Tour to Save Democracy is entirely Gen Z led, organized by young people. We're going on a physical bus tour across the country, stomping in Republican swing seats with the goal of flipping them blue. That's the way that we think that we can flip the House back and expand the Senate. Obviously, we are committed to reelecting Joe Biden. But imagine if he wins and then we don't have a House and a Senate. It would be just as bad. Well, not just as bad, but it would be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what I find so amazing about you. When Alex was murdered, you had some choices, you know what I mean? You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to stand up and say, I refuse to sit back quietly, silently. I refuse to, like you said, let Alex have died in vain, which is just a horrible position for you to be in, but this is what you have chosen. It's not what you necessarily want to be doing with your life, but you're not just doing something. You're doing something with an action attached that people can actually get behind. It's not just like you're sitting at a computer screen ranting and raving. You have a plan. And I think that is an incredible inspiration. How are you going to, when you go to these places, how do you flip these seats? What is the plan? What does that look like?
Okay, so first of all, thank you. That is the $1 million question. How do we get these seats flip blue? Um, let me talk about how we actually decided on which seats, because that
Yeah.
is kind of the thing that people have to understand first. These seats are very flippable for Democrats. These are some of these seats are seats that Biden won in 2020, and then Democrats lost to Republicans in 2022. They are R+1+2 districts, which is like the partisan voter index, which means that a district has voted 1 or 2 points more Republican nationally than the country did. So a PVI of R+1 or R+2 is means that it's very, very in play or flippable for Democrats. So that's where we're going. We're not going to like a Marjorie Taylor Greene
All
district.
right.
As much as we would love to have her not be in Congress, it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, it's just not something that we can feasibly do on this tour right now. We think that our resources are better spent targeting these flippable Republican seats that we can flip blue. And how we want to actually flip them blue is by engaging the youth base in each of these districts. A lot of young people, and this was myself before the shooting, a lot of young people are, I think, very disillusioned in politics. They really have zero interest in politics. They think that both Democrats and Republicans are the same, which is crazy to you and I, and probably a lot of the people listening to this.
Mm.
But for the majority of the country, 100 million Americans, they don't vote, they don't follow news, they're not on Twitter. I mean, if you ask them who can, they might not even know what. I mean, I had a conversation with somebody at my college last night. He didn't even know what Congress was. So we're dealing with a
Whoa.
very, very I don't know, a lot of young people are just not totally educated on this. And that's,
Yeah.
in my opinion, well, I'm not going to demonize them, but I want to get them engaged in politics. So what we want to do in each of these districts is kind of create like a collaborative, engaging environment for a lot of these young people who maybe they've never been messaged to before, or Democrats haven't been able to reach them before. It's no one's fault. It's just they haven't found the reason to take action yet. For me, that reason came from the Parkland shooting when I felt like a calling. But for a lot of people, it's just very easy to sit back and do nothing, and I totally get it. But this election is not the election we can do that when quite literally everything ever is on the line. I'm not even talking about gun violence. I'm not talking about climate or abortion. The entirety of this country, the foundation of it, of rule of law and democracy. I mean, this is an experiment. I mean, this is something that really had never been done before. And Donald Trump threatens to take all that away. And
Right.
I, a lot of young people, that's not on their radar. That is an unfathomable thing that someone could just come into power and do that. And we are really trying to communicate to them in a engaging, interesting, collaborative, interactive way, that we need to take action here and look what can be done when we have a democratic trifecta.
Yeah.
Another thing is that people don't know what Republicans and what Democrats stand for. A lot of people don't know what. First of all, if they know what abortion is, that's already a win. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people don't know which party is trying to take that away. I think I
Mm-hmm.
just saw a poll that was like 80% of women in Texas don't know that their rights have just been stripped away, right? They don't know the abortion laws in their state, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality. So like when we go to a stop like Texas, that's going to be the messaging. Hey, young people, your rights, your right to protest, your right to have, bodily freedom, your right to go out to a mall and not get shot. That is all being threatened with Republicans being in power. And if you come out and simply just vote, take, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, wait in line and vote, you can literally have a massive change in this country. And we're going to explain why. We're going to show what Democrats have done over the last 3 years, which in my opinion has been nothing short of a miracle in a split
Mm-hmm.
Congress. And that's what we're going to do. And there is no one specific way to do it. If I had the answer to that, I would, we would win every election ever.
Mm-hmm.
But we are just trying to do something that hasn't been done before, because with the gravity and the stakes of this election, it's too much to just say, well, let's not do it because we don't have a specific one reason answer. We know how we're going to do it. We just don't know specifically, what the exact sentence we're going to say to these people are.
Yeah, but I mean, just the fact that you're engaging them to begin with, but that you speak the same language, you know what I mean? Because as much as there's, and we talk about this a lot, there's an intersection between what you're doing, your generation, and what matters to them and what matters to me and
Yeah.
my generation as a mom of, individuals in from your generation. And actually my son is, my daughter's just beyond that. But it's that you're engaging them, period, when other people have abandoned doing that. But these are people who might not realize that they're actually doing politics, or the politics is doing them. So they're disengaged from it, but they don't realize, like you said, they don't realize, it's kind of like gravity. It's kind of like you can take it for granted because you've never ever had it questioned before. It's just always there. And it's not going to always be there if we don't get people aware of what's at stake. And to your point about voting, that's another thing that Fred talks about in this episode ahead, is that's the ask. That's it. You don't have to knock on doors. You don't have to write postcards. You don't have to do anything. You just vote. And he says, and he's right, vote early. And it's easy to vote early everywhere pretty much. But like, that's the one ask. It's not like, we don't need you reinventing the wheel. And I love that you're doing this because it's exciting. For me anyway, it's exciting. And I don't know, I'm not Gen Z, but your launch video got my attention. It's amazing. It makes me want to cry. But and it's you're gearing it toward the things that matter to you and to the future and to the generations after you. And I just think I want to applaud you for that 1,000%.
Yeah, thank you. That's our one ask too, is just get out there and vote. But I don't believe that people will vote unless they realize and fully internalize like the stakes of the election.
Right.
Unless people are given hope that things can change and that they know what is at risk, I don't think they will vote unless we give them that. And so I totally agree. I mean, Fred is he knows what he's doing. That's our ask too, is just get out there and vote for, this specific person or a Democrat who's going to champion these things. That's really it. And I really, what you said was very, very poignant. A lot of people take it for granted, the right to free speech. I mean, when have you ever had a thought in this country that might be taken away, right? But it is. I mean, another thing is that a lot of the 100 million Americans who don't vote every year are the most affected by their by their inaction. Those are the people who would, benefit the most from Democrats, economic plans of like, not having tax cuts for the rich, which is going to cause middle class people to pay more money. I mean, a lot of people don't know that Republicans want to essentially gut Social Security, which is robbing your money and making you work until you die. I mean, what middle class person would want to vote for a Republican that raises the retirement age?
Right.
Seriously. And that is the thing here. A lot of people just don't know that that's happening.
And they won't know necessarily until it's taken from them. That's the thing, right? So like in his parallels, unfortunately, with what brought you to this work, because before Alex's murder, this was not gun safety advocacy was not something that, you felt was a calling, but it required this horrible, terrible, tragic, I don't even want to call it an incident, murder, for you to end up on this side of this issue, but others as well. And that's what you're fighting to prevent for other people. Other people who aren't engaging right now won't have to say, oh my God, I wish I had when or before this was taken from me or before I lost my loved one. And that's the thing that's so powerful to me and so inspiring, is that you're trying to stop these realities from being imposed upon us so that other people won't have to say, why didn't I do something sooner?
Exactly. There's so many families that I meet who have suffered gun violence, who, they say to me, man, I wish I took action before this happened. I thought the same thing. I mean, I can remember watching the news with my family of like the Pulse shooting, which was like 2 years before Parkland. I can remember seeing the Las Vegas shooting, which is like a year before Parkland. And, everyone in the country saw it. But we never ever thought it would happen to us. And it's a crazy thought. How could that happen to your family? And then it did, right? So the whole thing here, I see this as a direct correlation between what's happening with the Republicans and democracy. That's going to be for all of us. We never imagined this would happen to America, but you see it happening to other countries. You see what's happening in Russia. You see what's happening in Turkey and what happened in Germany and with the Nazis. That happens to other countries. It doesn't happen to us. It's the same as gun violence. It absolutely can happen to us if we get complacent and let it happen. And the whole point of this tour is that we as young people are not letting it happen. I think we are refusing to let this fascistic, extremist, Christian nationalist party be able to implement their every whim that, I mean, it's ridiculous. We're not accepting that. Not only
No.
for our future, because we're inheriting this planet that they're giving us, which is melting, by the way, but
Yeah.
our future children and our grandchildren. I mean, what kind of people would we be to just let them inherit that kind of a country or a
Yeah.
planet? It's just,
Right.
you
And
know,
I'll tell you what, I never, I will admit what I don't know, what I get right and what I get wrong. And I'll tell you what I got wrong. I got abortion wrong. I said, no way are they coming for Roe versus Wade. I remember being in high school and they gave us a debate topic and we had to choose sides. And myself and my friends chose pro-choice. And I said, why would anyone choose that other side? That's ridiculous. This debate's never, it's never going to happen. So I was like, no, they're never, ever going to overturn it. And now, sure enough, your generation, which includes my son, and then beyond that, my daughter, who's about 11, almost 11, you have fewer rights than I did at
yep,
your age. My daughter has fewer rights at 10, almost 11 years old than I did at 10, almost 11 years old. And I never fathomed a world where we would move backwards. And
yeah.
that's what we're facing right now. In every way, not obviously just repro. We've seen that happen, and it's being promised in other ways too.
Yeah, and this is Republicans' grand master plan is like, we may not win the popular vote, but when we do win, we're going to pack the Supreme Court with far right conservative judges who are, not, there's no way they would be serving in a lower court, let alone the Supreme Court of the United States. But Trump packed the Supreme Court, and that is what ended Roe. Another thing you see, a lot of people credit Roe being ended to Biden. They think that because he was the president when it was overturned, that means that he let it happen, which is not true. It was Trump packing the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
I hear so many people say that to me, and it's unbelievable. And this is going to be our struggle. This election is going to be getting young people to. It's not really energized about Biden. It's so much as like understanding the stakes of this election, which is everything.
And
Um,
understanding the truth, understanding the reality, because they're fed constant disinformation, like you just said, like this is Biden's fault, but it's intentional on TikTok and YouTube and all the other places and everywhere, Instagram. They're being fed the opposite of the truth. And you're out there you're going to be out there, and you already are, but you're going to be out there literally telling them the truth.
Absolutely. The other thing that's maybe even the most scary, and this isn't even talking about the whole democracy being ended aspect, which is obviously horrible. When let's say Trump comes into power and he respects rule of law and he respects democracy and he's not going to touch any of the checks and balances that we have in place, he's still going to pack the Supreme Court with maybe even up to 6 far right judges. That's the end of it right there for all progressive movements. You think Roe's getting put back into place anytime in the next 50, 60? No way. Gun violence prevention, it's never going to happen if Trump wins. And it's not just because, oh, he's a mean, whatever, it's because he's going to pack the Supreme Court again. I mean, this is another thing that people don't realize. The effects of the president losing is so much far reaching than, just being able to pass a law. I mean, he could pack the Supreme Court.
And that's assuming he does follow the rule of law in some way, shape, or form,
Exactly.
which right, this is a person who's already promising to be a dictator on day one. So there's really no guarantee that the guy who thinks he can get away with shooting his political rivals is going to do that at all.
That's if he doesn't touch the judiciary, the Department of Justice,
Right.
or anything. That's if he respects that, which he already says, like you said, he says, I'm going to be a dictator on day one. He's straight
Right.
up admitting it.
Right.
I mean, there's no other way to cut it. If he wants
right. Exactly. And I mean, again, it's like, it's maddening sometimes, because here's the problem I have with some of the things that are going on right now, which are maddening to me, is that this is a binary choice, right? And we don't have, there's no knight in shining armor coming in to rescue people from these two options. These are the options we have. And I like you, I believe that Biden has done an incredible job, a job against really insurmountable seeming odds of getting bipartisan things done. I mean, we have an office of guns safety right now, right? What is it called?
The first time ever in American history, we have the Office of Gun Violence Prevention.
Right. And that's not what all the things we want, but that's working towards the things we want. He's still doing those things. He's still working. Right.
But what can feasibly be done right now is
right.
Everything is literal power, and there's nothing more he could do.
Right. Right. He hasn't done the nation harm. You know what I'm saying? He's done a good job for the country. And And I understand that people are upset about a myriad of things right now that are very real and very significant to them. And I understand how they are, how passionately they feel about these issues. But at this moment in time, if we don't make sure we have this one thing, which is democracy, the issues that matter most to them in this moment won't matter at all. There'll be no discussion, no conversation. That's the end of it. They won't come up for debate. There will be no debate. These issues will cease to exist as far as the government goes.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think that it's just going to be like 1945 Germany, where it's a total fascist regime. It doesn't, that's not what it's going to be. It's going to be the slow rolling back of freedoms day by day, like what was happening under the Trump administration. Slow, like eroding of, precedent and history and, this
institutions,
right.
Checks and balances. Yeah.
I just read Liz Cheney's book on January 6th, and I didn't know the extent of the plan that he was doing and the things that the president can get away with that are like technically legal that you can't be impeached for. Even all of that, which I'm not even just talking about the plan to overthrow the government on January 6th, like how he was just saying, okay, well, if you don't agree with me, I'm firing you and replacing you with someone who does. That's, to me, not presidential, or that's not like that's not what a free and fair government looks like. Anyway, that's what Trump was doing. And so that's what a dictatorship would look like under Trump. It's not going to be like concentration camps on day one. It's going to be slow rolling back freedoms until we get to that point where it's a totalitarian fascist government, which is what he wants it to be. Anything, he's already tried it. This is the thing. Like, he already tried it on January 6th. And
right.
thank God we had like a little tiny number of people that prevented it. If we didn't have that, we would not be having this conversation right now.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth. So,
and it's already a tyranny of the minority when it comes to so many issues that actually more Americans are aligned on, in particular guns, because the support for some of these, Fred talks about it too in the episode, for some of these gun control, gun safety measures is like in the 80s of percent.
91% for background checks.
Okay, see, like this is, and again, they are able to inflict and impose a reality upon Americans where we, the people, have said no, and they don't care. And so we, the people, need to get them out. It's gonna come down to us. It's always been about that, and we need to embrace that more and more.
Correct. And it's not just on people like you. It's not just on people like me or whoever. It's on people like you listening. And the fact that you're even listening to this is probably more than most people do. If you're listening to this, you're probably already very interested in politics, and that's great. But like people like your friends who maybe know who Biden and Trump is, but it's not a big deal to them. Like, who cares? It's a government. It doesn't affect my life. That's what most people think. It falls on every single one of those people if they care about the way that the country has been. And I'm not under any president, Reagan, it doesn't matter the president. The semblance of the country and respect was still there. And Trump threatens to overthrow all of it. And that's why we're doing this tour.
And they're kids, because a lot of my listeners and viewers and people who subscribe to my Substack and stuff probably have Gen Z kids that they can talk to and engage with as well. And I think that that's an important conversation to have with your kids. It opens a lane for conversation as well. And these are issues that, as someone who's Gen X, these are very important to me, for my kids and for their kids. And I think that just opening the dialogue for this entire conversation is amazing. I think it's amazing that you are going out there and engaging and being the change that you seek. I love that you're calling upon people, everybody, to stand up and to use the power that they have, which is the power to vote, because we can change the world. We don't have to do a million heavy lifts. We can just change it one vote at a time. It's always going to come down to us.
Yeah. If anyone listening wants to get involved with the tour and what we're doing, go to tourtosavedemocracy.org and you can learn more.
I love it. I'm so excited. And they can come see you on the tour dates. They're not up quite yet, right?
They're not up yet. We have them planned.
Yeah.
The right time to announce.
Yeah. And then we can go and find a place near you, and we can check it out, and we can also, get involved and get excited.
We're going to every we're going to but we're going to 24 stops. We're going to New York. We're going to California. We're going to Arizona, Illinois. Yeah, we're going to New Jersey. We're going to your district.
Let's go. Let's go. We are gonna hold our elected officials to account, and we're gonna make sure that they reflect the will of the people, because that's what this country is built on. For the trolls out there, it is, yes, a democratic constitutional republic, and we the people do still have a say, the final say. Well, Sam, thank you very much. I didn't ugly cry. I made it through without ugly crying. I do ugly cry in the episode with Fred that follows this. So everybody stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for everything that you do. And you're doing all of this while you're in college and trying to just pursue a career for your, yeah. And I love it. And I thank you so much for your everything, for your advocacy. And well, I'm almost ugly crying now. So thanks, Sam. Thank you. And I will talk to you soon. And we're going to keep talking about this tour, and we're going to get involved, everybody. Okay. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you all.
Well, stay tuned for the episode following this with my friend Fred Gutenberg. Believe it or not, it only has a few moments of me crying, but we also have quite a few funny moments, which is shocking. But when we're talking about Kristi Noem, you kind of find the joke as my dog entered the room, because Kristi Noem. Oh,
horrible.
Sorry, seriously. All right, so Sam, you stay tuned. Everybody else, I enjoy the episode, and I'll see you next week. Welcome to the Are You Effing Kidding Me podcast, Fred Gutenberg. Hi, Fred.
Hello. How are you?
I'm well. We had a little off-camera conversation about hockey, which was very interesting because
Go Cats.
Go Rangers, and our teams are very likely fated to play each other, and we'll be very cordial to each other when that happens and root for our teams respectively. But I do hope you lose. I hope you don't mind me saying that.
And for what it's worth, my wife and I usually go to North Carolina for the summers, but we are not leaving Florida until we've had a chance to see the Cats lift the Stanley Cup. So it's all good.
Okay. Well, my God, I was very young when the Rangers got to do that, and I got to go to their ticker tape parade. I was very young. It was 1994. Same day. Their ticker tape parade was, interestingly, the same day as the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase.
Oh.
Yeah, which is a little bit of history, but rest not in peace. But anyway, yeah, we'd like to see the Rangers lift that cup again, but they weren't very good to it. I think they did some crazy shit with that cup, but I don't recommend it. I would too, though, probably drink out of it and all that shit. But in other news, let me ask you this. We'll just come right out of the gate. What the fuck is wrong with Kristi Noem?
She is, listen, I refer to MAGA. I call them maggots.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a maggot, and she is someone who, listen, it's not just that she killed her dog, threw it in a ditch. It's that she actually thought people are going to love hearing that story, which just gets to how deranged, demented, and delusional they are. I personally do not think she's bright. I don't think Donald Trump finds her appealing because of her smarts. And I think that she proved what I think of her, which is she's just demented.
Yeah.
She really is. Listen, I say that as a dog lover. So maybe there are non-dog lovers who think what she did was super cool. I'm thinking probably not. I am a dog lover. I have my 2 dogs. I have a doggy. I have a grandpuppy. I love my dogs. They are my kids. The idea that she killed hers because she was having a hard time training him, I can't get over it. And listen, usually when I talk about people, I try to find the nice thing to say. There isn't one here. There's just not.
No, there's no redeeming qualities about that.
No, she's demented.
Yeah, and that she's doubled down on it since this. I mean, she put it in her book. It's not like everyone's like, oh, someone leaked this story. Like, no. She thought, to your point, she thought the cult would love it. Not surprisingly, because this is kind of like very on brand for them. There was surprising to me how many of them were sane in this moment. Even Kimberly Guilfoyle, for the love of God, was like, oh, that can't be true. That somebody must have snuck it in her book. No, bitch.
No, she did it. She thought people were going to love it. And then, like you said, she actually doubled down on, but she didn't double down. She tried to create sympathy for herself in her doubling down, which just, again, gets to not only is she demented, as are many like her, and delusional, and not bright, but she's a snowflake.
Yeah, right. And she's changed her entire identity, essentially. The look of her face, her teeth, her hair, her all of it to accommodate what the maggots think is, aesthetic, attractive.
Listen, Donald Trump is not crazy about Kristi Noem because he thinks she's bright.
Right, right. And it's also the reason, no offense, but actually offense, Elise Stefanik is probably, I would argue with Ron Filipowski, I don't think she's his pick for the exact same reasons, because she's not the look that he wants. No offense.
And she's bright. She is incredibly bright, which only makes her descent into the maggot universe more incredible to me, because she wasn't always that way.
Nope. She just found that was the expedient way to get to power.
Well, in a Trump world, yes.
Right. Very sad. It is very sad. But let's get back to dogs for a second, because not only do we both share a love for dogs, I've actually written about how much I love my dogs. I've never lived without a dog. You understand the power of dogs, so much so, and you have such a special connection to dogs that you have a charity called Paws of Love. Tell me about that.
So our foundation is actually called Orange Ribbons for Jamie.
Right.
Paws of Love is an initiative of Orange Ribbons for Jamie.
Gotcha.
And we started Orange Ribbons for Jamie after my daughter was killed, not only to educate on issues around gun violence, but also to continue to pursue initiatives that would have mattered to my daughter. And my daughter was raised with dogs. We had a dog in the house before we had my children. It's just the way my wife and I are. And so she was obsessed with her dog. She loved her dogs. When she was killed, we had a 5-year-old dog in the house and a 4-month-old puppy. That puppy saved my family. Having that puppy here, I can't overstate how meaningful it was to my wife and I. And so over the years with our foundation, where we were doing all sorts of things, giving money to the Humane Society, giving money to dance scholarships, giving money to other organizations, as well as starting our own scholarship initiative, my wife kept on saying, I want us to have our own signature purpose. And then one day, driving home from, I believe it was the trial, she's like, I want to do something with dogs. That's what would be about Jamie. And over the course of this drive, we came up with this idea to give dogs to families affected by gun violence. And what we now do is give 8 to 10-week-old golden doodles to families affected by gun violence, and we select the puppy based upon the profile of the puppy and the recipient. And we give the entire first year, all the food, all the grooming, all the training, all the medical, the toys, the crate, all of it.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, to your point about your puppy, they do save lives, because they need us, but they just want to love us and to give us affection and loyalty and comfort, and to take this moment in your lives that was so riddled with such intense and profound grief, and be able to have this experience with a puppy that is the antithesis of all of that, right? It's really healing.
In my house, if I ever said to my wife or my children, because Jamie is still my child, and I know the answer she would have given, and I know the answer my son would give, and I know the answer my wife would give, that you have to choose between me and the dogs, I'm out. And I'm okay with it, because I get it. I understand.
Yeah. Actually, so do I, 100%. Like, between you and me and anybody else who's watching or listening, my dog Ruby, who's sound asleep, she's a Georgia Rescue Hound, a Georgia Hound Rescue, sorry. In 2019, my marriage ended, and then late 2019, and then 2020, my big brother died, and then
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And then the lockdowns happened, and then my 12-year-old chocolate lab got diagnosed with cancer. And so all of this is happening in short order. And I thought, well, people say, don't go get a dog right away. Like, don't do that. And I said, nope, that's not our family. I have to have, we have to get a new dog. I want to get the dog before Otis passes so I can introduce them to each other. I don't want it to seem like a replacement. As fate would have it, Otis passed the day before we were supposed to go and meet Ruby. But Ruby, we met her in a parking lot. It was COVID. Like, you couldn't go into the pounds and stuff.
Yeah.
Ruby came into our lives when we were raw as raw could be, like just scrubbed completely raw of everything. And she was, like you said, she saved our lives. She was this beautiful soul we could invest in and spend time in. It made everything okay.
So we have a crazy similar story. Because I don't know if you're aware, before 4 months before Jamie was killed, my brother died of cancer related to his service in 9/11. My brother ran the triage for the World Trade Center, and he died in October of 17. My wife's birthday is October 30th. And so sometime after the funeral and before my wife's birthday, we're sitting around at the dinner table, and my wife's impossible to buy a gift for. And the kids and I asked her what she wanted, and she said, to be honest, all I want is another dog. And I've always said no, because the second dog conversation had come up multiple times before. I've always said no, because we had like this one perfect dog. And she said that, and all of a sudden the kids started saying, come on, can't we? Can't we? And I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? What the fuck? My brother just died, their uncle. They loved their uncle. We as a family had never been through anything like this before. I'm like, what the hell? We'll get another dog. Before I could say go, they were on the computer researching because they knew there was going to be another golden doodle. And thank God we did.
Yeah.
Because that dog that my daughter helped pick out, that my daughter loved amazingly, ended up saving my family.
Try not to ugly cry. I am so sorry about your brother. We've talked in the past about Jamie as well, and I'm obviously very sorry about Jamie. That doesn't feel like it covers it. Like, that's not the small words.
I do understand.
Yeah, like sorry is like, it doesn't come close. But I want to talk a little bit about what you've done. Just to say that, it sounds like an opportunistic way to say, but since Jamie's death, in terms of advocacy and where we've come from, where we are now, what has been accomplished with your tireless work, what we can do down the road, and how we get there.
So I very quickly became a very political person, and I developed a media and social media platform that gave me a voice. And I realized to do anything on this issue had to be a political solution, because we were seeing how bad politics, bad policy, dishonesty were resulting in either no policy to save lives or bad policy that was increasing the risk of gun violence. And, when Jamie was killed in 2018, the NRA was still a powerhouse that everybody wanted their rating. You had politicians all over DC who wanted that NRA A rating pin. And then you had some Democrats who wanted to F, but everybody wanted the rating. And after my daughter was killed, I spoke a day later at a vigil in Parkland, and it really hit me at that vigil, like, this was gun violence. And I walked in my house that night and I said, I'm going to break that effing gun lobby. And it became my mission. I, a week later, got a call from, at the time, private citizen Joe Biden. And he spoke to me about mission and purpose. And I went on a mission fueled by purpose. I was in a fortunate position to have sold my business a year before. So I actually wasn't at the time working, and I was okay. I didn't need to write then and there. And I decided to dedicate my life to this. And the result of it was we had a successful 2018 election where we flipped the House and we fired a bunch of those NRA A-rated congressmen and women. And we were able to start getting Congress to pay attention to good policy to reduce gun violence. And I'm going to keep saying reducing gun violence because I'm not anti-gun. I'm not anti-Second Amendment. I hate gun violence. And in 2020, we then elected private citizen Joe Biden to be our president. And we gave him a Senate that could actually be the second part of the legislation coming out of the House. And we passed the Safer Communities Act. The only reason that legislation passed is because we got out and voted. And we voted for people who believed in doing something about it. And because we voted, we've gotten a whole bunch of executive actions that are having incredibly meaningful consequences, including the one most recently implemented to expand background checks. And because we voted, we now have an Office of Gun Violence Prevention located in the White House. And because we voted, President Biden nominated and got approved Director Dettelbach to lead the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the ATF, an agency that is tasked with overseeing the issue of guns in our country, and they didn't have any functional leadership for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And all of this because we voted.
Right.
So it's extremely consequential. And I tell you that because for the next 6 months, I'm not fighting for any policy. I'm not fighting for any legislation. All that I am doing is making sure people vote.
Mm-hmm.
If we vote, we will be okay. We must reelect President Biden. We must give him a Congress he can work with. Listen, the Palm Beach Bible salesman, some would refer to him also as our former president. He understands. He understands the 24 election very well. If you will note, he is not even trying to campaign beyond MAGA. He's only campaigning to MAGA. He's not trying to pull in the rest of the country. Why? Because they're 30-something% of the country, unfortunately. And his only mission is to make sure 100% of them vote. And I believe they will. I believe every one of them will. There's more of us, but there's also a whole bunch of us that say stupid things like, well, I may vote for Bobby Kennedy, right. or I just may not vote because I don't love Joe Biden. You know, he's old. Listen, as I'll just say this. If you need it, every time I hear somebody use the word love and a political candidate, if you need love, go on a dating app. There's plenty of ways to find love, but just fucking vote, because this is democracy. This isn't a drill. This isn't made up. The way we know America right now either ends or we get to go forward and continue the work to make it a better place.
I mean, amen to all of that, right? Like I say all the time, you don't have to be in love with Joe Biden. You don't have to marry Joe Biden. You don't have to fuck Joe Biden. You don't have to have his baby. He does not have to be your dream date. He's not going to be perfect. No candidate is ever going to be fucking perfect. If you think you get the perfect candidate, good luck. It doesn't exist. Because, oh, this is this other thing. It's like, me, what about me? It's like, shut up. It's not about just you. And no offense. I know I'm told by Santiago Meyer not to lecture, but I can't help it. Same as you. This is fucking binary choice, right? Like,
that's it.
That's it. And none of this, not gun violence prevention or gun safety advocacy or repro, your state right now, by the fucking way, thanks to Donald Trump, has a 6-week abortion ban, which will be on the ballot and will be overturned, God willing. But still, 6 weeks is like, I didn't know I was pregnant at 6 weeks with one of my babies. I had no idea. So it's really just a complete and total ban. And this is all attributable to the one person who lives down there. Unfortunately for all of you, I do apologize about that, but that is literally on trial right now for what he did to steal the 2016 election from the American people. And this is, you don't get to have some like nuance about like, well, maybe, you know, RFK aligns with me more. No, stop. Just stop.
Listen, for those who think that they'll use their voice, that they don't like Trump, they understand the Trump threat, but they just don't want to reelect Joe Biden, anything other than a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Trump. It's just that simple. And if you don't take that seriously, and especially the young people they all think they're smarter than us. They do. They're not, but they think it. And I
thought that too when I was a kid.
And I think it's time for them to think about their future differently, because they think, well, I can vote for Bobby Kennedy now and at least, feel good that I voted. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, and I think they're going to understand this point. If you do that and you reelect President Trump, here's what it will mean to you. You all want to be the future leaders of this country. You're all going to want to run for things. You won't have elections to run in anymore. You will screw yourself out of your ability to be the leader that you think you can be. Mm-hmm. It is that simple. Don't risk it. Don't be stupid. And by the way, I'm not telling you to vote for Joe Biden because it's an anti-Trump vote. I am telling you to vote for Joe Biden because the truth is he's delivered on everything you said you wanted. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's delivered on gun violence prevention. He's delivered on the environment. He's delivered on college debt, which, by the way, I don't even agree with President Biden on. All the young kids are going to hate me for saying that, but he delivered on it. Yep. He's delivered on all of these things. Yep. Okay, I can go through the list.
Yeah.
So if you want the guy who believes in progress, who believes in the future of this country, if you want the guy who just yesterday, the administration and the Department of Justice talked about reclassifying weed, y'all like your weed. Okay, if you want the guy who's going to be there to deliver the things you want, you better vote for that guy. Because if you don't, you won't get to do what you thought you were going to get to do once you are 25 and older. It won't exist.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
Right. And some of the stuff that you're saying you can't vote for him now because of, for example, his stance on Israel and Gaza, which we don't have to get into the weeds so much on that, but we can examine what Donald Trump would look like for you. Let's say I'm Arab. Let's say he's not just, we don't have to guess, it's not hyperbole. He's saying he will deport 11 million Black and brown people and set up detention camps. Do you think those people are going to look like, I don't know, like Laura Ingraham, or are they going to look, like the Arabs right now who are saying that they just can't. The Muslims
I'm pretty sure we know they won't look like you and me.
Right. Exactly. And so this is the other thing too. It's like what Trump represents to them in this issue that is so crystallizing that they can't support Biden, which is a whole other conversation. But what Trump would mean for you is so much worse. And if you can't vote, you are, like you said, if you just can't bring yourself to do it, you are still voting for Trump. You're still getting the guy who ran on the Muslim ban the first time. And he's promising to do worse. And I just don't understand how
every single person who's unsure, who's confused, who hasn't made up their mind yet, should read his interview with Time Magazine from this weekend. Amen. Just read it.
Yep.
It's not like you and I are making this crap up.
Nope. It's not like he's hiding it.
Read it and then decide you want America to continue and vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah. And I know that it's a motivating issue, that, abortion rights, reproductive rights are a motivating issue. And if you read that Time interview, to your point, he's talking about letting states monitor movements of women. To make sure we don't seek illegal abortions, which, by the way, if he's in office, abortion will be illegal everywhere. It's not like a state thing. Yeah. And if we do violate it, then we can be prosecuted. We can be charged with
it's monitoring pregnant women.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say pregnant women seeking abortions. They're going to states will be able to monitor pregnant women. Okay, so you said I could use bad language. I already have. So are there going to be literal state monitors checking out your vagina and making sure you're not pregnant? I mean, what is this? But that's what he said.
Yeah.
Monitoring pregnant women.
Yeah. Yeah. And everyone's like, well, this is the other thing. Don't take him literally. Like, no, I mean, it's Trump. He says a lot of crazy things. It's like, he said he wasn't going to accept the results of an election. He lost. And guess what, folks? We got January 6th. You have to take him literally. He's not.
No, Trump says what, we long ago passed the idea of, do we take Trump literally or not? Because Trump always says exactly what he means. It used to sound crazy, right. So we never believed it.
Right.
It's not crazy anymore. It's what he means.
Yeah. He's not clever enough to hypothesize about like what he should or shouldn't do or say. I mean, he's trying to do that on abortion, which is hysterical to witness because he's so bad at not just blurting out the thing. Like he can't even like try to really portray himself as in the middle of an issue. By the way, he's the person who's responsible for Dobbs to begin with. Thanks, Mitch McConnell. But still, like he just doesn't have that nuance. He's as nuanced as a staple gun. Like there's nothing about him that's nuanced. So he says what he means because he doesn't have the capacity not to. The guy can't fucking keep his mouth shut. Of course he means this stuff.
Yeah, but listen, it used to sound crazy.
Yeah. But
now we know it's not.
Right.
And so people better take him seriously. I mean, I don't know how else to interpret monitoring pregnant women. I don't know how else to interpret it.
And punishing women who get abortions. What does that look like? I mean, the GOP is trying every which way they can to make that a thing already. But and again, this is the other thing about Trump. This one isn't even his issue. Like he doesn't actually give a fuck. He's probably paid for 10 abortions. He doesn't give a fuck. The Muslim thing, the racism thing, the xenophobia thing, that shit is intrinsic to who he is. That comes from his truth. But this one doesn't.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. So, and the gun thing too, by the way, getting back to that, something else we lose with Trump or gain with Biden. Biden is also not anti-gun. You're not anti-gun. I'm not anti-gun. I am anti-assault rifle, and I don't want anyone to say, what does that mean? You know what an assault rifle is? What does the AR stand for? Fuck off. I'm serious. No one needs a gun that can kill 4 police officers in 10 seconds. No one needs that rifle. No one needs a gun so powerful that the Uvalde Police Department, armed to the teeth with fucking tactical gear, is like, I don't want to go in there. Do you want to go in there? No one needs that gun, right? And Biden has already accomplished this in his career, which is storied and incredibly successful, and wants very much to get this accomplished again. Trump, on the other hand, when that young boy Smiley was killed in, I believe it was Iowa, said we needed to get over it. And said he was proud of the fact that he didn't touch this issue because once you do a little bit, then you have to do more, then more and more and more. So he's the antithesis of Biden. So I just want to do that binary difference too.
We'll make it really simple. I gave you a list of things that actually did happen because we elected a President Biden.
Yeah.
All of that work comes to a full stop. The executive actions get undone. The Office of Gun Violence Prevention no longer exists. The effort to overturn the Safer Communities Act, which is working for the first time in years, the gun violence death rate is actually declining. Okay, all of it is working, but it will all be undone. The work continues if we reelect President Biden. The work stops and you become less safe if we don't. Full stop. That's it. There will be no such thing as gun violence prevention conversation in this country if we do not reelect President Biden.
It couldn't be more clear. And also, as we've talked about in the past, and it's statistically true, that this is a very popular issue in this country in terms of gun violence prevention and gun safety measures and reasonable gun safety measures and even an assault rifle ban. But this is tyranny of the minority, that this is being forced upon us as a reality we have to accept, because more of us are actually in favor of these measures than are against them.
Doing something about gun violence is more popular in this country than apple pie. It's 80-something%. So the issue isn't whether or not the majority of people agree with you and me. And they're Republicans and Democrats, gun owners and non-gun owners, are all in on the idea that we should do more. The issue is, will we actually show up and vote?
Yeah.
That's the problem, because unfortunately, the committed voters are the ones on the extreme. MAGA is an extreme, but unfortunately, they're a big extreme, and 100% of them will vote. So the question isn't, are there more of us who want this to be done? The question is, what are we going to do on election day?
Yeah. And I believe that, sorry, go ahead.
No, because if we screw it up, if we vote for Bobby Kennedy or we don't vote, then the minority will dictate your life going forward, and you don't want that.
No. And I believe that there are a lot of people who might not be motivated in this moment by the general malaise of like, oh, they're both old, whatever. But they all have their issue, right? So my friends who uniformly disengage with politics, it depends on what happens in the news. And I'll get a text from all of them at the same time. For instance, because we're all moms, sport moms, our kids all love football. The Kansas City shooting that day, my phone was blowing up. My friends, we have to do something. This is not okay. I love my friends. I love them. They're incredible people. They just don't want to engage in politics. But that day, that moment was very crystallizing for them. And they were like, okay, someone has to do something. And I'm like, people are trying to do something. Like, you can help, you know?
Yes.
But everyone has an issue. No one wants gun violence to come for them to be the issue that was like, oh, I should have done more before. No one wants that. We're trying to stop that from happening. But like, everyone has that one thing that, well, this is my biggest issue, honest to God, is gun violence. But because I'm the mom of 2 kids and it's all I think about ever since Sandy Hook, but everyone has something that you can reach them on, where they just have to understand really, truly in their heart what's at stake. And we have to keep talking about all of it so that they do. And then they're like, oh shit, I can't sit this one out. Hopefully, right? That's the goal.
Listen, it's the goal. It is the reason why I'm doing this 2 Dads Defending Democracy tour with Joe Walsh, a guy who he and I disagree on far more than we agree on. I mean, he's like the original Tea Party guy. He was behind Trump until Trump actually got elected. And then he's like, what the hell did I do? But we're doing this because we want America to see it's okay to not agree on everything.
Yeah.
But we got to be able to talk. But at the end of the day, if you want to have a say, if you want to have a role in making things better, then you better vote. And you better vote for those who support democracy, because that's the only way that we get to do this going forward. Listen, if the MAGA crowd wins, when they say things like Second Amendment solutions to political disagreements, you should take them seriously. You don't want to live in a country where, because Trump won, they will get their way, because there'll be a crowd of people who will believe that they can dominate the conversation because they'll get to show up with their AR-15s. We better vote. It's that simple. The dire consequences of not voting, it's not hyperbole. It's not amped up rhetoric. They're saying it. Just listen to them. Don't listen to me.
1,000% agree with you. And I also appreciate Joe Walsh, and I appreciate you guys doing this together. And I will say same with Liz Cheney, not that we're working together, but whatever. You know, we can disagree on everything, literally every issue, but this one. And we can have those fights tomorrow, as long as we shore up this one. You cannot have any disagreements over any policy or any legislation whatsoever if this one is gone.
Listen, I look forward to a day in America where political disagreements are a thing with the intention of finding the best possible solution for the most people possible out of it. I look forward to a day where I go back to thinking Liz Cheney is wrong on everything, and being able to talk to her about it. You know, but right now, Liz Cheney and I, someone who I just never could have, we are as connected as 2 people can be because we love democracy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's it at the end of the day. And it has made a very strange coalition for sure.
Yeah.
one that very much looks forward to being able to have those debates in the future like we used to have, hopefully civilly. But like I mean, I cut my teeth in like politically arguing with my Republican dad. At the end of the day, we were okay. We could, you know, break bread together and be father and daughter, and it was just, you know, was what we did. It was legitimate political discourse. You know what I mean? That has long since left the building, but still, like, I think we're all aligned on this issue because we all understand how crucially important it is and how it makes this country so special. And the only people who tell us this country sucks all the time are the ones who want to tear it down, which is ironic, right? Like, they're the ones saying that America is a laughing stock when it's not true. That if you love America, you know that she's got things she needs to fix. And
America, listen, they like to make America sound like terrible.
Yeah.
It's not. It's an amazing place where we are all free to do what we want, where we are free to do the jobs we want, to love who we want, to take care of those we love the way we want, to travel where we want, and to engage how we want. That's the beautiful thing about America. It won't look the same if we vote the wrong way in the next election. And so I want to encourage everybody. Feel free to disagree with me. Okay, it's okay. But let's make sure we stay in a place where our disagreements are with the intention of finding a best outcome.
Right. Exactly. I appreciate that so much. I was going to ask you what gives you hope and what keeps you fighting, but I think you've pretty much outlined what keeps you fighting for sure, which is protecting this democracy. But what gives you hope?
My hope comes from going across this country and meeting people everywhere I go who want things to be okay, who want democracy to survive, who want their families protected. And my hope comes from the idea that enough of them will vote.
Yeah.
But we better do the work.
Yeah. I love the sign behind you because I love Jamie's painting, but the sign next to Jamie's painting says "We the People" for anybody listening to this. And that's what I say all the time. I think it's incredible you have it there because it really is going to come down to us. It has to, it was meant to, it's designed to come down to us. This is the power we have and we can't take it for granted. We never should have taken it for granted. So many of us, myself included, spent lots of time taking democracy for granted, like gravity, like it would just always be there. It's fine. Like, I don't have to think about it, but we are not occupying that reality anymore. And realities, they're trying to impose realities upon us, like me just sort of accepting that my kids could get shot at school, or kids in Tennessee accepting that their teachers need to have guns, or they need to have safe rooms, or they need to have bulletproof chalkboards. And they're imposing a reality on us that we, the people, can say no to and have to say no to.
And still have the right to say no to and the chance to say no to. You know, but this election is in 6 months. It is we are running out of time to make sure people understand the risk as well as how easy it is to make sure things are okay. All you got to do is vote.
Right. It's right. And well, Republicans have tried to make it harder. Democrats have tried to make it easier. We all know why that is, but it is.
Which gets to another important point. They are trying to make it harder. And one of the things that I know they will with certainty do is make it where people are not going to want to go out on election day.
Yeah.
There's going to be amped up talk of threats and things like that. That's who they are. Mm-hmm. So for all of you voters out there, make sure you vote early, you vote by mail, but just get it done before election day. Don't, if you wait till the last minute, okay, you will be targeted by that machine, that MAGA machine. And if in fact it looks like Donald Trump is underperforming, the more they will try to keep you from wanting to go out that day. So it's really simple. Vote early, vote by mail, have a voting plan that doesn't involve you going out on election day.
Yeah, Talk to your friends and family and tell them to do the same thing as well.
Yep.
Those conversations are crucial, but yeah, I mean, they're already saying like, we need people to watch the polls and we need people like to check to make sure no one's cheating. And that really just means take your AR-15 and go intimidate the fuck out of anybody who
Yeah,
wants to go.
100%.
Yeah. We see you. We got ways. Don't worry. But it is easy to vote in most places and get a voting plan together now. Like you said, if you live in a red state and you know it's going to be a pain in the ass to vote, or you know somebody in your red state who's not going to be able to get there at all, like help them. You know what I mean? Do it yourself. Help them. To borrow another phrase, it takes a village, and we are that village. And so you're right. We have to crush them in numbers too large to ignore. There's no other choice. And I'm so fired up right now, Fred. Fucking nay. I tell people this all the time. I swear to God, I tell people this all the time. They're like, Joe, how do you not get overwhelmed by all the crazy that's going on? Don't you ever feel like you just want to give up and walk away and be quiet and go live a quiet life? I said, with Fred Gutenberg out there fighting, what the fuck am I complaining about? He's out there every day. He's been through fucking hell. He's not sitting down and be like, I've done enough. Like, if you're out there fighting, I sure as shit can't sit down and be like, I'm done. I'm overwhelmed. I tell people, I hear you all the time.
People don't need to fight. Just vote.
Yeah.
Just fucking vote. That's it.
Well,
That's all I'm asking anyone to do. Just vote.
Right. And your vote is the most powerful weapon that you have. And honest to God, we're not asking a heavy lift. You don't have to go knock on doors. You don't have to be out there running your mouth all the time like me. You don't have to be advocating like Fred.
And don't waste your vote if you vote.
Correct. Please don't vote for a fucking monkey. Don't literally from someone I know in my life, let's just say, voted for Harambe and said to me after the election, holy shit, I can't believe I did that. I had no idea the ramifications would look like this. Vote for Biden, period. No monkeys, no RFK, no your uncle Fred, so-and-so who, one time said something funny. Vote for Biden. Yeah.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, it's a binary choice. Stop whining. You don't need a dream date. Moving on. Okay. With that said, I'm all fired up, Fred. I'm literally sweating now. Okay. What I do at the end of every podcast is I switch gears and I do random questions. And it's like a rapid fire random question round. Yours is specific sort of ish to you because you're generally the same age as me, although you're older, which makes you really old. I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 in June.
Oh, I'm a lot older.
A lot older.
I'll be 59.
Okay, that's not a lot older. It's the same decade. It's the same generation. So
all right.
We're Generation X to my point, which is
keep the birthdays coming. That's all I say.
Serious, right, exactly. And when's your birthday?
December 24th.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Christmas Eve. And you'll be 59. So you're only 58. You're not even close to 59. Why do you say almost 59? Like, I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 in June. I'm 50. I'm sorry. That's an SNL thing. But yeah, so we'll be in the same decade then. But
same decade.
Anyway, Gen X is obviously the coolest. And so these are Gen X themed questions for you.
Okay.
Are you ready? All right. So what was your favorite action figure toy when you were a kid? You said you grew up in Long Island. So what were you playing with in 1982, 83, 81?
So that would put me back in high school days.
Oh, then earlier. Sorry.
So earlier?
Yeah, like maybe I'm thinking like middle school.
Okay, middle school. So listen, Rocky would have been out by then, and I'm a Rocky fanatic. So probably something with Rocky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rocky came out in the 70s, the first one, and it's my favorite movie. I've always been a Rocky fanatic. I wasn't like a G.I. Joe's kind of guy.
Not even Star Wars.
I've never been like a big Star Wars kind of guy. I watched Star Wars when I was younger. I haven't even seen all the recent ones because my kids never wanted to. But the one movie I can tell you that I'm like fanatical about is Rocky.
Well, Stallone kind of spoke to us, right? Like there was something about
that underdog.
Yeah.
Fighting his way and winning.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, Adrian. I mean, the first one is really classic. I mean, it's
the greatest movie.
Yeah, it did jump the shark.
And I love Rambo's too. I mean, I'm a Sylvester Stallone fan, but Rambo, well, I loved it, but crazy about Rocky.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I saw Rambo at the Newton Drive-In movie theater with my dad. That was weird, but it was cool because it was like he's in the jungle, like we're in the trees. It was weird, but yeah, those were classics. I mean, fortunately, I think he's a Trumper now. But anyway, moving on.
You're dating a Trumper now? Did you say?
No, I'm not dating anybody, but he's not. I'm not dating a Trumper. I could never date a Trumper. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
They're making just.
Yeah. No, why? Oh, sorry. Hold on. That was just an automatic thing. No, not dating anybody. Thanks out there for, thanks, Fred, for bringing that up. But certainly not a Trumper. I would die. I would die. I did go on a Bumble date with someone who I realized mid-date was a Trumper, but he was also just uniformly an asshole. So it was an easy way to end the date. He grabbed my arm and he was like, "You lift too much weight. You're supposed to be feminine." I was like, "Okay, this date's over." So a lot of personal information that has nothing to do with anything. But you triggered me by saying I was dating a Trump person, and I overshare. It's what I do.
I heard incorrectly.
That's okay. I mean, misspeaking, I would never. I mean, like, who does that? I would never misspeak, ever. I would certainly never blurt out something I didn't mean. But anyway, okay. Second question. Do you remember, see, you're a little bit older than I do. Maybe you do or don't. But do you remember
You
getting
keep saying that.
I know. It's the thing that makes me feel better. It makes you feel worse. That's what I do. Do you remember getting your first VCR? Because I remember when my dad came home with VCR.
I do.
Cool, right? I was like, what is this thing?
Yeah, no, I remember that. I remember my first, it wasn't my house, but a neighbor, the first person to get cable. So I remember the first person who had a cell phone in their car.
Oh, yeah.
Because you used to have to get those installed. Yeah, I remember all those things.
And like the first camcorders, and like your dad or your uncle, the video would be like all shake. It looked like when Trump was on trial with Judge Goron, and they would do that footage, and it looked like an old '84 camcorder. It was like not steady, and they're zooming in and out. Yeah. And then we got the digital disc thing, that like big record player disc that we were like, oh, this is the future. And it was clearly not the future. Yeah.
And boy, now it's like,
yeah.
Listen, I'll never forget when my daughter was like 7 or 8, we went to Hilton Head, and in the room there was a phone, a rotary phone, and she walks over and it's attached by a wire to the wall, and she picks it. She's like, "What the hell is this thing?" But that's what we grew up with.
Yeah. I mean, you had to take the cord around the side of the kitchen wall and go up the stairs just so you could have a sort of semi-private conversation.
A private conversation in the same open area as everyone else, but you tried.
Yeah. And you'd be like, I need the phone. I need the phone. I told you I need the phone. And sometimes, and then when the cordless first came out, you were picking up the baby monitor next door and like, what the, somebody else's cordless phone. I was like, what the heck is this? The first cell phones were like big giant bags, like these big suitcases.
Times have changed.
I know. And now our kids pick up, when you say, what is pick up a phone? They don't do this. Like we do this. Right.
On the watch.
Right? It's crazy. It's like the future. It's like the Jetsons. It's like weirder than the Jetsons. It's like, nobody's going to be able to see me through my phone. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so last question. This has to do with phones, actually. Why do so many Gen Xers decide that they need to have their phone conversations on speakerphone loudly in public? Like, why are they shouting, first of all? And why can't they just have that conversation not on speaker?
I don't know, and I hate it. And they'll tell us it's because we're old, but I don't think that's the reason I hate it. I hate it because everybody's entitled to their zone of privacy. You shouldn't hear what I'm talking to people about. And I honestly don't want to know what you're talking to people about. I just don't care. So don't burden me with your conversations. I won't burden you with mine.
Thank you. Amen. And the worst is to do it on public transportation. Like I was on a train coming back from Philadelphia, which I did not run the stairs, although Stephanie Miller, shout out, she did. Coming back on the train, and this lady's having a very important conversation with some tea in it I cannot divulge in the seat in front of me. And I'm like, she doesn't think I know who she's talking about. And she's talking about a lot of political names I know. And I was like, she's having it on speakerphone. Idiot.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? I honestly go live your life, go have your life.
Yeah.
Keep it to yourself. It's okay. I don't need to know the details.
Yeah.
I just don't. And by the way, Steph Miller is terrific.
Oh, she's the best. She's the best. She is like a gift to the universe. This is one of the most genuinely beautiful human souls I have ever met in my entire life. I mean, she's incredible. We did this the sexy liberal tour that she does, and I got to join the panel at the end in the Philadelphia show, and I was really fucking nervous, and I almost fell going up the stairs, but that would have been epic if I did, but I didn't. But anyway, I was so scared. I've never done anything like that. She made me feel so fucking comfortable from the second we started. The next thing I know, I'm talking about my snatch smelling like toasted coconut, and everybody's laughing. I'm like, this is her magic. She got me to talk about my toasted coconut snatch. But anyway, I digress, because back to how wonderful she is as a human being. We did the show. I go home. She goes home. Well, next day, she calls me as soon as she gets home. She calls me. I've never talked to her on the phone before. We've only met and did the show and radios and stuff. And she said, are you okay? And I was like, what do you mean, am I okay? She's like, holy shit, you get more hate on the internet than I've ever seen anyone, including myself, ever get that I've ever known. And it is mean. And she's like, are you okay? I just want to check in. Like, how do you deal with it? Are you okay? And I was like, oh my God, first of all, thank you. But second of all, fuck them. I have worked too hard and busted my ass too much and been to the darkest places you could imagine to let some fucking troll upset me because my fingers look AI to be too long. Fuck that. But I love that she checked in. She spent a lot of time.
Listen, she's terrific. And she, I've had similar conversations with her because like you, I get a lot of hate. And like you said, dark place. Listen, you can't hurt me anymore with words. I already lost the thing that mattered most. You can't hurt me with words. So let people type what they type. Last year I was in California for my book tour. So I actually did her show from her studio in her basement.
Oh, wow.
So we got to hang out for a bit. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
She truly is. And I know that she recognizes good people. I know, and it's not at all surprising to me that that's someone she recognizes as good people, because you are. And you are, maybe whether you want to be or not, you're an inspiration to many, including myself. So
thank you.
On that note, I am not ugly crying, although I'm on the verge of it. So just so you know, it's right there. I'm not doing it because it's
We
ugly.
won't push you over the edge.
Nobody needs to see that. It's ugly. I mean, it's ugly. Like, it makes my long AI fingers look beautiful. So the last thing I just want to ask you about, again, your book, American Carnage. That's out right now. Can you just tell me a little bit about that, so that people know, first of all, what it's about, where they can find it, et cetera?
So that was my second book. The first one was Find the Helpers, which is about my involvement in two American tragedies, 9/11 and gun violence, and the amazing people who came into my life because of it, who have helped me and lifted me, and who have reminded me that nothing that I've ever been a part of in life has always been just about me, that there's always amazing others around that I rely on. And then the second book, completely different, American Carnage. The thing about gun violence in this country and the conversation is it was always based on a premise of dishonesty and lies. Always. And these crazy myths. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Okay. That myth didn't even exist until after the Sandy Hook shooting. It was actually the NRA response to the Sandy Hook shooting. Now everybody knows it, but it's nonsense.
Right.
And so myself and my co-author, Tom Gabor, we decided to write a book taking on all the lies, all the myths, all the slogans, with factual information, as well as an explanation on how to talk about it. And so that's American Carnage. Really proud of both books. I won't ever write another book because, honestly, I never saw myself as an author, and writing these books is an incredibly involved process. But I'm really proud of the two that I did.
Well, those are both incredibly important and in different ways, but tangents of the same sort of cogs of this, same machine, because the first one is so incredibly important in sort of teaching people that they are not alone, they're never alone, that there are people out there who not only they can help, but can help them. And
Yep.
I also, that's another thing that resonates with me, because I really do believe that is true. Once you sort of open your heart and mind and eyes to this, you see that reality, and then you are interested in paying it forward as well. So that's one really huge component to this. But this other one in American Carnage, this dismantlement of disinformation and getting to the truth and the origins of these lies is evergreen in terms of everything we're seeing, and this sustained attack on the truth. And all aspects of society right now, from, what's going on internationally to, what's going on domestically. And there is this huge, push and this undergirds all of this, which is this dismantlement of the truth so that they can spin their own narratives. And what you're talking about with in terms of guns, it exposes all of that, but it still applies to so many other things that we're seeing in terms of propaganda right now.
Absolutely correct. And, listen, out of the book American Carnage, when I was introducing it, I said often, and it applies to so many issues, the simple phrase, stop listening to the liars.
Yeah, right. It's that simple, isn't it? But they're very loud. They are very loud.
Yes, they are.
We have to be louder. That's all. We have to be louder. And then
Louder and vote.
And the people who don't want, right, the people who don't want to be loud, because you don't have to be, loud.
Just vote.
Vote. And that's actually the loudest you could ever be. So,
yeah.
Right. Well, this was an incredible conversation. I didn't ugly cry, but I just cried a second ago. Now my nose is running, so I have to do the ugly, wipe my nose thing because I started to cry. But I'm going to do that. And they're going to say, oh, look, she's on meth. It's fine. But Fred, so the books we obviously talked about, where can people follow you? You're on Twitter or X or whatever?
So Twitter, Threads, LinkedIn, Facebook, I tend to keep more private. I have a website, fredguttenberg.com. So lots of ways.
Orange Ribbons for Jamie is its own dedicated
there's
website.
There's a website for Orange Ribbons for Jamie, and we also have Twitter pages for that and Facebook pages for that. Yeah.
And people can go ahead and check that out and donate and give to a good cause, including Paws of Love, and say, fuck you, Kristi Noem. We love our dogs and what you're doing.
And make sure you spell Jamie when you're doing the website or anything like that. It's Jaime.
Jaime. Well, Fred, I have said this to you before. I wish I didn't have to know you for this or in this way. I wish I had met you in any other million or trillion ways. Same with Sam Swartz, who is someone near and dear to my heart. Also doing great work, by the way. Incredible. He's such an inspiration. And he's so close in age to my own son that it's like, sometimes I feel like I just, now I'm going to ugly cry. I love him so much. So see, there it is. Oh no. Told you. I talked about Sam and I started crying. I wish I knew you for a million reasons, not this one. Wait, hold on. Sam and Dork. Sorry.
Oh, I have a friend like you who just will ugly cry over nothing.
It's not nothing.
Well,
yeah.
Doesn't take much. How's that?
No, I cry over, oh my God, fireworks, like the national anthem. I'm such a big dork. Commercials, forget it. Now that I've collected myself enough to not ugly cry on screen, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do, for everything that you advocate for speaking where Jamie cannot, and for just being a fucking badass and keeping it fucking real and inspiring me and so many other people when you faced the worst possible realities imaginable. So thank you.
Thank you. And we will continue to be in touch as we do the work.
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
Let's get it done. We the people, folks. Thanks, Fred.
Stop crying.
I can't. It's over now. It's like you freaking put this toothpaste back in the tube. And people know me. I can't stop crying. I'm such a baby. All right. That does it for this episode of the Are You Effing Kidding Me podcast. Don't go anywhere, Fred. I want to say a proper goodbye. But everybody else, thank you so much. This was an incredible conversation. Every time I get a chance to engage with Fred, I walk away just fired up as fuck. So this will be out Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern on all the places where, these things go. And then check out my Substack, my Are You Effing Kidding Me Substack, where I think today my reflections are going to be about this conversation and about how this issue is top of mind for me always because I memorize my kids' clothing in the mornings. It's terrible. I've never been able to not do it since Sandy Hook because I don't want to not be able to identify them. And that's a fucking grim reality I refuse to have to accept for much longer. But on that note, thank you again, Fred. I need to go blow my nose. Don't go away. I want to say proper goodbye. Everybody else, see you next week.
Talk to you.